everyone, and welcome back on Your Values. Hope you're well. Today we are going to have a bit of a long video. Gonna try and do it in one shot. It's about my healing journey, my story. The point of this video is for you to know me better, to know where your values comes from and how I got the idea and why I'm doing what I'm doing, so you understand better, but also mostly so you get inspired. Maybe you can identify yourself and find solutions and get inspired. So that's about it. Just before we start the video, I just want to let you know that if you are less than 26 years old, you can get a discount of 30% on everything except the book, basically conferences, in person or online sessions, and all of the different packages, coaching packages. For that, just contact me and I will give you this voucher for a 30% discount, only if you're less than 26 years old. Sorry, got cut off. Anyways, at the age of 14, 15, I went to Sac des Nageurs de Marseille. And then I had a problem, which was because I left my family home, I got away from my sister, and I had all of these things. I had no stable base, so it was always stress everywhere. At some point, I started eating a bit more, food was kind of comforting. And at some point, my swimming coaches, I wasn't that fat, but my swimming coaches told me, okay, you have to lose like 6 or 8 kilos, and I was in shock. So basically, this changed my mind. I had at that point, I developed bulimia, so it lasted like probably seven years or so extreme struggle. But I still managed to do, French championships and stuff, but it was so difficult. I ended up dropping out of school. It was kind of stressful, yeah. Basically, I had nothing was really comforting, it was just like, what should I do? I had hate and stress everywhere, and the only place I found was food. When I was eating and stuffing my face, it just felt so good. It was just the moment. Food didn't judge me, it just gave me good, and peace and happiness. But I had to lose weight, so I couldn't stop eating. But I had to lose weight, so eventually I started throwing up, and this became hell because at some point I ended up like throwing up probably 20 or 30 times a day, just stuffing my face all day when I stopped swimming. And so that was it. And then when I stopped swimming, I had a year and a half of hell, where I basically was drinking a bottle of vodka per day, not eating. I had anorexia at that time, so I was not eating. I was like maybe 10 kilos less than now, and I almost died many times. I tried to kill myself also several times, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, having cocaine every day, weed, MDMA, mushrooms, whatever, like the whole big thing. So eventually, if you don't eat and you start behaving like that, obviously, you get in the hospital. And so I got in the hospital, but it didn't stop me, I was feeling so bad. And then at some point, I said I want to go to Paris and do acting. So this is what happened. I arrived in Paris, I had this crazy life, like amazingly crazy life. And eventually, at some point, I could not live not sober. Like I could not. So then it stopped because I found my job, creating company. So I had a goal in life. When you find a meaning, then you end up healing a bit. And before I went to Paris, I had this thing of psychiatric hospitals. I had to go there at some point and I saw things I should have never seen. And in my book, it's written, I speak about it more in details. And that's about it. So I did modeling in Paris after that. And so basically the modeling and the swimming and also eating disorders, I learned so much about nutrition, health, physical activities. So this is why it's included, majorly included in the Your Values guide. Your Values is basically the life guide I wish I had when I was younger. Sometimes you're a bit lost, you don't know, and if you have the Your Values guide, it really simply, with simple steps, doesn't cost you one penny more. You know, it's just simple hacks, life hacks, habits that you just put in, and it makes your life better. So this is where Your Values comes from. I see the society, there's a problem, there's something, you know, that everybody says we're losing values, we're losing good behavior, respect. But I said to myself, there's must be something that we all have in common, that that gathers us all, and that is the cause of all the consequences, consequences in the world. So I ended up coming down to Your Values, the 10 life values: good nutrition, good physical exercises, and mind exercises. This is where Your Values come from. Also, when I was in swimming, well, I had difficulty when I first had my period. For instance, I didn't want it because I thought that I would stop swimming faster. I didn't want to have any breasts or shape, you know. I really wanted to be flat so I could swim faster. This was really my goal, and then eventually this is also why I developed eating disorders, because I didn't want to grow my body, you know. So it's like many causes cause that, and that's about it. So the day I healed is the day I accepted myself the way I am, and I love myself, and I am happy, and I take care of my body. I respect myself. And how I did that, I started, you know, looking at myself in the mirror and saying, I love you, Annabelle, or I'm okay with you, you're beautiful. You have to self positive, you know, get into it and act. And this is how it started. It sounded so strange in the beginning, but then eventually it worked. So then let me check. Yeah, I also had a phase just before I came to Paris where I always had a lot of social anxiety, but for that year when I was having drugs, also mainly, I had social phobia. Like, I could not go out of my home. I could not. And so eventually one day I had to. This is also why I decided to do acting. Now I'm totally fine speaking here, but I could not get one word out or just one step out of the house. And so I decided to confront reality. And this is the only way it works: to put your ego aside, your frights aside. It's only in your head, and just go for it. And so eventually I went on stage. First time, almost fainted. Second time, managed to say one word. And eventually, you never give up when you do it like that. And so basically, yeah, that's the whole thing. And then, yeah, I had many not great relationships with men. So I was quite scared of men, basically, mainly in my life. And I had when I was healing, there are several things. You know, you're like a traumatized animal that has had violence and everything. When a human being comes close to it, it's afraid because it associates like human beings with violence or stuff. And I was a bit like that, so I have to learn to calm down and be at peace. And when someone approaches you, don't be afraid, just it's okay. And then it's just a habit, and meditation helps a lot with that. You have to give yourself time. You have to face your inner child. Face your inner child. And your inner child, it's what we call the dark side, our bad side. No, it's your dark side is your inner child, in fact. And you have to close your eyes, imagine yourself younger, and speak to your inner child. We all have to do this. Even if you think you don't have to do it, you do it. And speak to yourself, comfort yourself, put your ego aside, and stop resisting. And also, another thing is that I I was resisting and blocking every emotion. I was so afraid of the world. And so my life was empty and I had to fill it with something. I would fill it with drugs and food. Now I stopped resisting the world and blocking everything and accept my emotions, accept anger, accept happiness, accept tears, accept joy, accept events, accept good, bad, whatever. And when you accept, you stop resisting, everything flows. It's like in meditation, the first thing you learn is basically the more you try and resist your thoughts, the more they're going to be strong and try to invade you. If you just let your thoughts flow and pass by, they will just pass by. Like your emotion, you just state them. You're not your emotions. Just state them and let everything flow. So acceptance, second value. Another problem with the video. So anyways, I was saying that it's important for you to be kind and indulgent with yourself, to be really, really caring. Be very disciplined, but not too much. Not too much, otherwise if you do something too much, eventually the compensation phenomenon, what I call, will happen. If you're too disciplined, at some point you're going to go down like total anarchy. And if it's a total mess, at some point you will need extreme discipline. You need to keep a life balance, not too much of everything in moderation. Then in relationships, eventually, what I wanted to mention is that, for instance, I had many bad relationships, weird men. I had very hard times, but I think that it's not always everybody else's fault. Eventually, it was my fault that I was always attracted to men like that. So I had to change something in my mind that I did. And now it's not happening anymore. Things like this are very important. So question yourself. You have to understand that meditation is very important for that. Also, that you understand to not be a control freak. I used to be a very big control freak, trying to control everything and everybody. You can only control you and only you and what you do. Don't try and control everybody else. It's very toxic, and it's useless. This is what you do, and eventually when you meditate a lot, you learn that in this meditative state, which is a state between being awake and being asleep, it's the same state as lucid dreaming. You can check that up on the internet. This is the moment when you take a nap or you sleep or you meditate. You can change your mind deeply in your habits. If you do this regularly, you see changes occur. Yes, also I wanted to recommend a book from Thich Nhat Hanh, which is the Heal the Inner Child. It's a great book. Anyways, I will eventually do another video about my story, and hope you enjoyed. If you want to keep in touch or comment or have questions, feel free to reach out, and see you soon on Your Values.